All right, let's get right into it. We're going to be talking about a 9-digit number that, honestly, you've probably never even thought about, but it plays this absolutely massive role in the US economy and, more importantly, in the lives of millions of people. This is the story of the Individual Taxpayer Identification Number, or ITIN, what it is, who's using it, and its surprisingly complicated place in America.
But before we get into all the technical details, I think it's important to start with the human side of things. This quote from Ernesto, a house painter, really just cuts right to the heart of it all. For him, and for so many others, this isn't just about a form or a number. It's a real, tangible record that says, I'm contributing. It's a symbol of trying to do the right thing. And, it's a bit of a gamble on the future. That whole calculation is what we're going to unpack.
So what is this 9-digit number that carries so much weight? Let's break down exactly what it is and, maybe even more importantly, what it was never meant to be.
Okay, so here's the official definition. The IRS created the ITIN way back in 1996, and they had one very clear goal in mind. The logic was pretty simple. If people are earning money in the United States, the government needs a way to process their taxes. It doesn't matter if they're eligible for a Social Security number or not. So, at its core, it was designed to be a tool for tax administration. That's it. Full stop. Now, you really got to pay attention to the purpose and work authorization rows here, because this is the absolute key. The government was crystal clear about this. An ITIN is not a Social Security number. It does not, I repeat, does not grant you the right to work. It doesn't make you eligible for Social Security benefits, and it definitely doesn't change your immigration status. It was designed to be a one-way street, purely for reporting your income to the IRS. Understanding that clear line is just fundamental to the rest of the story.
Okay, so if it's not a work permit, then who in the world actually needs one? Well, the answer is a much, much broader group of people than you might think.
I mean, just look at this list. It really shows you how diverse the users are. Now, while undocumented immigrants are the biggest group, it's also a totally necessary tool for lots of people who are here in the US lawfully. We're talking about foreign students, spouses of people on work visas, even foreign investors who have to report rental income from a property. It's really a catch-all for anyone who has a US tax bill that falls outside that Social Security system. And the scale we're talking about here is just huge. As of late 2022, there were nearly 6 million active ITIN users. So this isn't some tiny niche government program. It is a core piece of the US tax machine, touching millions of lives and processing a massive amount of financial data. And that translates directly into a big economic impact. Just in 2019, ITIN filers made net contributions of almost $6 billion. This number right here just hammers home the main point of the program. It brings people into the formal tax system, and it generates revenue that would otherwise just go uncollected.
So the benefits for the government's tax collection are pretty clear. But for the person applying, well, getting an ITN is anything but simple. The sources we looked at describe it less like a simple request and more like a bureaucratic gauntlet.
It all starts with this form right here, the W-7. But look at that key requirement. You can't just ask for an ITIN out of the blue. You have to submit the W-7 along with a completed federal tax return. It's a really clever mechanism, actually, to make sure the number is only given to people who have a real immediate need to file taxes.
You know, on paper, the process looks pretty straightforward. But the real challenge, the biggest hurdle for applicants, is step 2, getting those original or certified documents together. You have to prove who you are and your foreign status. And let me tell you, the IRS is incredibly strict about what they'll accept.
And this is the single biggest roadblock. Unless you can physically go to a designated IRS center or what's called a certified acceptance agent, you have to mail in your original documents. We're talking about your passport. This creates this period of intense vulnerability where a person is just left without their main form of ID for who knows how long. And that wait can feel like an eternity. The official processing time is 9 to 11 weeks.
Just think about that for a second. For over 2 months, your passport, probably your most important document, is just gone. It's a huge, huge risk. Okay, so we have this number that's really hard to get and is designed for one thing and one thing only: taxes. But that is not where this story ends. This is where the ITIN starts to evolve in ways the IRS never, ever saw coming. And this is where the story takes this really fascinating turn. This is the core insight here. What happens when a government creates a tool for a very specific purpose and then just releases it into the world? The market adapts it. The IRS made a tool for tax compliance, but the financial industry saw a problem that needed solving, and they turned it into a key for financial access. Out in the private sector, the ITI basically started to act as a substitute for a social security number. Financial institutions, especially credit unions, saw this whole group of people who were being underserved, and they started accepting ITINs to offer bank accounts, car loans, credit cards, the whole shebang. This wasn't some government program. This was a bottom-up evolution driven by the market itself. And this change isn't just about profits. For a lot of these institutions, it's driven by their mission. They openly talk about their ITIN programs as a way to provide trustworthy financial services to communities that might otherwise have to rely on really predatory lenders or just live in a cash-only world. So this new expanded role, from a simple tax number to a key to your financial life, creates this really deep conflict for every single person who holds an ITIN. It becomes a constant balancing act between opportunity and some very serious risk. This slide really lays out the high-stakes choice every ITIN holder has to make. The rewards on the left, they're life-changing. You follow the law, you get access to a bank account, you can build credit, and you create a paper trail of your economic contributions. But the risks on the right are just as serious. You're putting your personal information into a federal database, and while the IRS has privacy rules, those rules are not absolute. This isn't just about filing a form. For millions, it is a strategic, high-stakes decision. And this quote right here gets to the very heart of that risk. Federal law, specifically Internal Revenue Code Section 6103, gives strong protections, but they aren't foolproof. The information can be shared for non-tax criminal investigations if there's a court order. The very existence of this data creates what one source calls a tempting database, and that's the source of so much anxiety for people who file. So in the end, what is the ITN? Is it a tool for paying taxes? Is it an accidental key to the economy? Or is it a source of real vulnerability? Well, the crucial point is that it's not just one of those things. For millions of people, it is all of them, all at the same time. It's a powerful example of how a simple bureaucratic tool can take on a life of its own, creating paths to inclusion and sources of fear, all in equal measure. Just a single 9-digit number with a profoundly complex story.